As I begin to transition into my career as a travel nurse, I have realized that there's nothing new under the sun. A lot of the complaints that I've had while I was in North Carolina and the nurses that I work with in North Carolina have too are the same exact complaints that I hear the nurses in Texas complain about and all the nurses I hear on TikTok complain about too. I wonder how, as nurses, we can better take care of ourselves, because I feel like if we better take care of ourselves, then it'll allow us to take better care of our patients. So if you're a nurse, what are some of the self-care practices that you put forth? Making my bed, taking my vitamins, and taking time to journal in the morning has really helped me with my mental health. So let me know what's helping you. I'm also trying to give up caffeine, as you can see too.
I've always wanted to fall into a video like that. Today, hello, welcome to my page. My name is Lanice, and I'm sure you guys are here for some more nursing content. I wake up, brush my teeth, and wash my face, and as you can see, I kind of straightened up a bit and made some mud water. I will get into what mud water is on a whole nother video. I have a video planned on that. I'm trying to get out of drinking like coffee and caffeine. So that's what I did, and now I am here to talk to you guys about why nurses are quitting in droves. They are leaving the bedside, not one by one, but 10 by 10, honey. My name is Lanice, and I have been a registered nurse for a little over a year now. Before I became a registered nurse, I was a licensed practical nurse, and I did that from 2014 to 2020, so for about 6 years. So I do have a good amount of healthcare experience, and working both as an LPN and an RN, I heard so many nurses complain about so many things, and me too. I've complained about so many things over the years, and I don't think that people understand the burden that nurses bear. I don't think people understand how hard it is to be a nurse. Not only does the job require a lot of physical work, not only is it demanding on your body, but it is very demanding on your mind. I cannot tell you how many nights I go home and I begin to remember the things that I forgot while I was at work. How many times I've had to turn around and go back and chart something that I've forgotten just because my anxiety will not let me not have gone without my anxiety will not let me go without charting it. So nursing is it's a very taxing job, and I just kind of want to sit down and talk about my experience, why I have seen nurses begin to leave the bedside, and also maybe, you know, if I have enough time, we can discuss some things that I feel like could maybe help if I was like a manager's point of view, what I would do to maybe help retain my nurses on the floor. Okay, so we're all aware of the recent pandemic that we just had, and I started my hospital experience right in the midst of the pandemic. So I feel like my views on nursing may be a little skewed because I came in right in the thick of it all. However, I will say that I have seen a large number of nurses leave the facility because they have a fear of getting sick. I've seen a lot of nurses who already had health conditions. They left, they had to leave because they were afraid of the virus, and they were afraid that they possibly could die. And some of the nurses that opted to stay that probably should have leave actually ended up getting sick. I cannot tell you how many nurses, well, I'm not gonna act like it's a million, but I have met a lot of nurses that when you sit down and talk to them, they will tell you about how they were hospitalized due to the recent virus that we have had. So a lot of nurses have quit bedside nursing just because they have gotten sick or they have a huge fear of getting sick. So I will say, me personally, being a young, I'm in pretty good health, I work out pretty regularly, the fear of getting sick has not bothered me, and I think that nursing has shown me how good of an immune system I have, thank God. It's definitely only because of him, but I very I don't even like saying stuff like this because I feel like I'm jinxing myself, so I'm not even gonna say it. But some people get sick a lot and some people don't. And one thing I will say, if you have not began to work in this field, I suggest that you start taking your vitamins, that you know, get as healthy as you can, because not, like I said in the beginning of the video, this job is very taxing on your body physically. But if you have a weak immune system, if you get sick several times a year, or one of your kids gets sick, you get sick right along with them, I suggest you start taking care of your immune system. I personally can't tell you too many things to do to boost your immune system other than just eating healthy, taking vitamins, and, you know, taking care of your body, getting a little physical exercise in. But I meet a lot of people, and I've watched lots of YouTube videos on nurses who say that they used to get sick like 2 or 3 times a year, and you are constantly around germs. Now, what type of hygiene practices did they put forth? I don't know, because of course a lot of it, you know, they tell you the #1 way to stop germs is hand washing. But you know, if you have really have a low immune system, I suggest that you start getting that in order because you will get sick. So another reason, like I have already stated, the wear and tear on your body as a nurse is like no other. Whenever most of the time before nursing school, you have to go to CNA school, and if you don't have to have your CNA before you start your nursing program, I'm a big advocate for just going to and getting your CNA. I didn't work as a CNA personally, but I wish I did. But I say that because in CNA school, even though it's very hard to practice proper body mechanics all the time because you're constantly in motion and it gets repetitive, and you know, sometimes you just can't do things right. But it is very important to know proper body mechanics. It's very important to know the basics, like making sure when you're changing a patient, rolling a patient, pulling a patient up in bed, that the bed is here, not way down here. You're not pulling the patient with your back. You know, you have to make sure, you have to take care of your own body because you are constantly all day. I don't know how many times I do this all day, lifting patients up in bed all day long. Here I am helping patients stand up, you know, and hold on to their walker. Like, I am constantly having to lift, and I'm constantly having to move and bend and squat to empty the Foley bags that are at the bottom of the bed, or I'm constantly moving my body. And again, I do work out pretty regularly. I'm in good shape, but I could imagine, like, during the points in my life during my career where I wasn't working out like that, I know I would be bending over and my pants would be almost busting, or I would go home, my feet would be hurting so bad because I'm on my feet all day. You very rarely get time to sit down and chart. You don't sit down much if you're working in med surg or if you're working in like long-term care. Those are 2 very busy places to work. And so you don't get to sit down, so your feet are always hurting. You bend over a lot. You have to lift patients a lot. So if you're not doing it the proper way, if you're not doing it the right way, you start to get back problems. There are so many nurses out here that are taking painkillers and muscle relaxers just to make it through their shift, you know what I mean? Because they've been doing it for so long and they weren't practicing proper body mechanics, and the wear and tear on their body is just, they've done a lot of damage to their body. So that is another reason why nurses are quitting, because the job is already taxing physically on the body, but then imagine having to do a job but having to do it even harder because you're short staffed. So even though I shouldn't be I should only have a 4 or 5 patient assignment, imagine having 6 or 7 patients and having to add all those times you got to pull them up in the bed and bend over and take care of them too. So it's like the job is super taxing on your body, and it's not a job working at the bedside. Some people can do it for the long haul, but when you really think about it, it's not a job that can safely be practiced at the bedside for many years. I almost feel like it's like playing football. Like, you can't play football for all those years. You have a lot of neurological problems from being tackled all the time. You know, like, that's how I feel about bending over and lifting up these patients. Like, you're gonna be in really bad shape if you're nursing for years. So I hate to say this, But the number one reason that I see, I'm not gonna say the number one, I'm being funny, but a huge reason, this was a huge reason before the pandemic came, this is probably the number one reason, would be the management. I know it is hard being a nurse manager. I can only imagine what it is like having to, down goes Frazier. Y'all, I kicked the camera over, sorry about that. My tripod, I'm missing a piece, so it falls very easily. But anyway, so as I was saying, management. I'm not gonna go and get in a big long debate about management, but management, I understand it can be very hard having to manage nurses, CNAs, dietary staff sometimes. Just, you know, you have to manage a lot of people. You still have to do the budget, and you still have to, you're like right in the middle of the CEO and the nurses, basically. You're the middleman for everything. So I can imagine how hard it is playing that role. But some management just sucks. Like, some management just sucks. I'm not gonna get into my experience because I don't know who's watching this, but I feel like management, for one, I've seen that better managers are always the managers who worked on the floor prior to becoming a manager and worked on the floor for some time, know the floor in and out. So if you have a new nurse come to you and ask you questions, then you know the answer. You're not going and looking for your seasoned nurse on the floor to ask your seasoned nurse because you had never worked on the floor and you're not sure. Like, to me, that is the dumbest thing. Like, how can you manage a floor that you've never worked on? I'm sorry, I just think that's crazy. Another thing that I have seen is the better managers that I've had, they actually act like they care about their nurses. I've had managers who you won't see them at all unless you go in their office, and they don't even have like an open door. Like, their office door is always closed. So it's like, I don't really feel comfortable coming in here because I gotta knock. I don't know, if you leave to me, if your office door is open, then that's more welcome, and then if your office door is always closed, I don't know, I've never worked in corporate, so I don't know, but that's just how I feel. And so, you know, they're always tucked away in their office. You never see them. They never come out to the floor and check on you. But I've also had some nurse managers that they were on the floor, you know, checking in with you, saying hey to everybody. They made all of their nurses feel good and equal. They go and they speak and say hello to all their nurses. They talk to their nurses. They know what's going on the floor. I hate to say this, I know that people hate having to get to work early for huddle, but the nurse managers that care about huddle and make sure that you guys get the information in huddle, those usually are the best managers because they want you to know. So the best nurse managers I've had were the ones that were active, the ones that I felt like they cared about. They're never really gonna care about you know, but they do care about you at the same time. Like, you know, you are still a number when you work for the hospital, but the nurse manager, they look out for their nurses. So working in the hospital is hard. I don't know if it ever gets any easier. They say that it does, but I don't think it'll ever get any easier. And the hospital setting is, they don't care about the nurses. The hospitals do not give a shit about their nurses. They treat them, they give them pizza parties, and they don't care about what is really going on. And I can make a whole video on how the hospitals don't give a fuck about their nurses, but I won't go that deep. But what I will say is that I have had, it is a shortage of nurses. Like, they say that there's no such thing as a nursing shortage. There are just nurses who aren't working at the bedside. To me, that just means there still is a shortage. Like, shit, we don't have enough. But you would think that nurses were in overabundance the way that these hospitals treat us. They don't care about how we feel. They don't care about safe staffing ratios. They only care about making money, period. That's all that they care about. And so again, I was saying there is a nursing shortage. I understand that we need more help at the bedside, but I don't think they understand that if you treat your nurses well, then you may have more nurses who want to come and work for you guys. And then I think that they also, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say. So let me just give you an example. I sat down and had breakfast one morning with, I think it was the chief nursing officer of the hospital and the president of the hospital. They have these breakfasts and they just choose, you know, 3 or 4 nurses and, you know, just a couple other staff, and they sit down and have breakfast with them. And it's like, they sat there and told us that in order to help with the nursing shortage, the shortage we're having on the floor, they're going to hire nurses from the Philippines and from the Dominican Republic and have, you know, contract them in to come and work. And I'm sitting here like, so y'all would rather pay to get someone's citizenship, because that's what they do. They pay them a low amount of money, but they also offer them citizenship if they work for like 3 years. And I'm all for it. If you want to be a citizen of America, I ain't got nothing against that. But my whole thing is like, you would rather pay for all of this instead of just paying your nurses more. To me, they just, I'm like, you know, I'm not hating on anybody getting their money or doing whatever they got to do, but the hospital themselves is like, dang, you pay your nurses crap. Like, I went to my job here in North Carolina last night. I haven't been there in over 2 months. Until I came and visited home this week. I started going back or whatever, and the manager, she was like, it is so bad here. I know whenever you left it was bad, but it's so bad we barely have any nurses who work on staff. And I'm like, because they're all leaving to go and travel because they do not pay their nurses enough. So I mean, I think that, of course, is a huge reason as to why nurses are leaving the bedside, because you're not appreciated. You're literally just a number. They do not give a shit about you. And I can go on and on and on about how they show you that they don't care, but I felt like that was kind of a slap in the face for her to sit down and kind of brag on that and kind of make it seem like they were doing us a favor, like they were doing us a solid. Like, no, like you'd be doing us a solid if you sat down and listened to us about maybe allowing us, because the reason that we don't have enough nurses on the floor isn't because enough nurses won't come into work. It's because they will not allow us to have but so many nurses. If they would allow us to have more nurses work per shift and cut back on the hospital budget, you know, they would be paying more because they would have more nurses working on the clock, but at least the nurses will be practicing. The ratios will be lower. You know, they don't care nothing about that. They don't care nothing about that. That's why I say hospitals are all about making a motherfreaking dollar, okay? That kind of leads into another reason. Another reason I see nurses leave the bedside, that kind of ties into the hospitals not treating nurses well, is because hospitals have become more customer service based, and the customer or the patient is always right. Every time someone leaves the hospital, whether it's just an ER visit or they get admitted to the hospital and they get discharged, they are always given a survey. They're always given a survey, and the nurses that get, you know, the most accolades, that get the raises, are the ones that get good surveys, or the ones that get like Daisy Awards. Like they really wow patients with their care, and the patient cares enough to write a, you know, a nice kind letter for them, which is hard whenever you have 6 of them anyway. I can't give you amazing care because they won't allow me to, sir. So I'd appreciate it if you gave me a nice survey anyway, you know. But hospitals are very customer service based, and that is not fair to the staff, because I cannot tell you how many times I have been called in the office because a patient said I didn't get to them fast enough. A patient said that I forgot to bring them their water. Like, are you serious? Like, no, I didn't forget to bring you your water, sir. I just had to go and be a part of this Code Blue over here and just didn't care about your water anymore because CNA could have got it. Like, come on. So that makes people not even want to work for you whenever you're constantly being told what you're doing wrong, especially from a patient's point of view, because the patient's point of view, you know, everybody's reality is their reality, and they don't know what the hell you got going on. And some people, especially whenever you have like people who are pain seeking or withdrawing, who want stuff right then and there, and who are just naturally going to be more agitated anyway because of what they're going through, and you have those people doing customer surveys, it's like, come on, like, it's not fair here. It's not fair. But that's how they make their money. That's how they become like magnet status. That's how they, you know, get all these different accreditations. So I just don't understand it. Sometimes, you know, they get their accreditations, you know, with how many nurses have their BSN, or how many nurses or physicians have this degree and that degree, and you know, they get some accreditations based on that. But a lot of it is from the patients. Scene, I'm missing a letter there because I don't want to say it on YouTube and get demonetized when I finally can monetize off these videos. But so vaccine mandates have been having a lot of nurses quitting. Now this is one I'm not even gonna state my opinion on, because I'm gonna be honest, I really don't have an opinion. You know, you do what you do. You just do whatever you have to do to keep your patients safe. But there are a lot of nurses who, I know nurses who were making $135, over $100 an hour, travel nurses, but they quit because they don't want to have to be mandated to get the vaccine. Ooh, Lord, I'm gonna have to edit that out. Like, that has a lot of nurses leaving. We won't go into detail. If y'all want me to go into detail, I will at a later time. But that's got them leaving the bedside too, and that it does. Okay, so this is the last one. My camera's a little crooked, sorry y'all. I don't know how to fix it, it's just broke. But nurses eating their young is a real thing. And sometimes, I don't know if it's nurses eating their young or nurses eat the black, I don't know, because there are a lot of racist ass nurses out there too. And nurses eating their young make new grad nurses feel very unwelcome. And I have read comments on my TikTok page from nurses who just really don't want to work because they feel like their preceptors are mean to them. They feel like they're mistreated during their training, so they're too afraid to ask questions, which means if you're too afraid to ask questions, that means there's things that you know that you don't know or don't understand, but you're too afraid to ask. And so how are you really going to get the training that you need? So nurses eating their young and make a lot of new grad nurses feel unwelcome, and it turns them off from the profession right away. And that does lead to a lower retention rate for a lot of these facilities, both in long-term care and in the hospital. So, you know, honestly, those are all the reasons. But I feel like as a nurse, I also don't particularly care for nursing because of the wear and tear on my body. And I also don't like being looked at as just a number. And I think that traveling, that hasn't really helped me not feeling like I'm looked at as a number, but traveling makes me feel a little bit more free. Yes, I still have to work 3 days a week. Yes, I still have to work 12-hour shifts, and I hate having to do that. I don't want to have to work for anybody. However, I feel like when you're getting paid a little bit of what you feel like you should be getting paid, then it makes the job a little bit easier. But these hospitals are not paying their nurses enough money. I know that there have probably been people who watch this video. I know there will be people who watch this video that have watched my previous videos about how much I've made as a nurse, but let me tell you that that is nothing in comparison to what nurses should be getting paid. I don't care if you are straight out of nursing school. If you step foot in that hospital and you take care of a patient, you're gonna be just as responsible once you make it out of training and you're working on your own. You're gonna be just as responsible for that same super acute ICU patient as the nurse that's been working on the floor for 26 years that gives you a report, you still hold that same amount of responsibility regardless of how long you've been doing it. Now don't get me wrong, I do believe that you should get paid more for doing it longer, but I don't feel like anyone should step foot and have a job into a hospital and have that much responsibility on them for $26 an hour. Banking is starting, I can't remember which bank it is, but it's starting their tellers off at $21 an hour. So you're telling me that somebody that does not need any type of degree, that can go and get this job straight out of high school, because I have a friend, she doesn't have a degree and she's the manager of a bank making a lot of money. So you can't tell me that someone that it doesn't require much critical thinking to be a bank teller. It doesn't. It's a very autonomous job. You do the same thing over and over. It's like a money factory almost. Like you do the same thing over and over. Now don't get me wrong, it does require thought. It does require being able to count, stuff like that. I've been a bank teller before, but being a bank teller and being a nurse, they shouldn't even pair in comparison. Like you shouldn't even be able to compare. To me, you shouldn't even be able to compare how much a nurse is getting paid to how much a bank teller is getting paid. They shouldn't even be anywhere on the same scale. So for them to be starting off bank tellers at $21 an hour and then starting nurses off at 26, like, how is that fair? How is that fair? And so, you know, me personally, I don't know, I don't want to work bedside much longer. I told myself I want to go and get my nurse practitioner, and then I'm like, no, I want to go and get my nursing informatics degree. But now I'm like, no, like I don't know what I want to do no more, y'all. I'm gonna be honest, because this nursing shit, like this nursing shit is, I'm trying to tell y'all, it's not for the weak, okay? And it's not for everybody. So I don't know why I'm on my soapbox today, but nurses just don't be treated right, and I hate it for us. I do. I hate it for us, because we have to be gentle, we have to be compassionate, we have to give our all every day that we go to work, and it's like nobody cares. Like it's just like, oh well, you chose to do it, so here you go. Like I think that out of all my friends, I'm probably the only person that really cares about work when I leave work. Like I can't really leave work at work. So but anyways, y'all, I done made this video probably a lot longer than it needed to be, and I did ramble a lot. So those are the reasons why I have seen many nurses leave the bedside. And if you are in nursing school, I am so sorry if this video deterred you from wanting to be a nurse or made you scared. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like these are things that you don't know, and you really, nothing I can say is really going to explain to you what it's like working as a nurse, how trying it is. I didn't even talk about politics, nursing politics and nursing gossip. We ain't even go there. That's another reason people leave. But it's a hard job, and I had to just get that out and let y'all know, like at the end of the day, just make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself physically, take care of yourself spiritually, because nursing is one of those jobs that it affects all of that. It is taxing on you as a whole person. So, you know, I want to prepare y'all for that, and I just want everybody to take care of themselves. And I think I've talked enough. So again, if you guys like this video, I please ask that you hit the like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you can get some more of my videos. And if you're new here, thank you for watching. And if you're not new here, thank you so much for returning. If you know anybody that's into nursing or interested in nursing, send them my video. I would be so grateful for that. And y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and see how many comments I get about my rambling this time. Peace.